Well, this has been a little while. My garage.
In a dusty storeroom at her home, Kerri-Anne Kennerley is digging up skeletons.
These nobody's ever seen.
What she's finding are rare moments, including this recorded nearly half a century ago.
Come on up here, Kerri. Right out the end of the board there. No, Len, wait until she feeds Flipper.
Do you remember that day?
I actually do. I would have been 16, maybe 17. It was my very, very first two-piece.
Not quite.
It was lilac with lilac flowers, and I loved it.
What? Kerri, you pulled it out of his mouth.
There I was on the diving board trying to feed the dolphins and eventually get pushed in.
And she came up smiling too. Well, thank you very much, Kerri.
Times like these, Kerri-Anne is happy to talk about. But there are others that this most famous and admired Australian
Hey, Ma.
has deliberately kept secret until now. Here we were thinking we knew everything there was to know about Kerri-Anne Kennerley. But there's a pretty dark chapter that you've never spoken about.
Well, my living has been made from talking to other people, and to be quite frank, until now, it wasn't relevant.
But tonight, Kerri-Anne and those closest to her are ready to speak out like never before.
It's time to sort of tell people how it really was and is, because every time somebody writes something about you, it's their version. Now it's mine.
The unfiltered truth about her TV co-stars.
He was just, 26, 28-year-old buffhead.
The wild New York party years before she was famous.
Cocaine was, pretty rife everywhere.
The violent and brutal attacks she suffered at the hands of her first husband.
It was only when she suddenly turned up all beaten up that I realised exactly what was happening.
Pushing Kerri-Anne to the brink of committing murder.
I just went and got the gun, aimed it at him, and said, I will shoot you if you come anywhere near me.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kerri.
Kerri-Anne is opening up as she reaches a milestone in her life, a birthday and 50 years on television. For a long time, even close friends and family weren't told what she's about to tell.
There you go. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
But there are no secrets from her husband, John, who she's been caring for since a fall nearly took his life and left him a quadriplegic.
Happy birthday song.
Have there been times when you've just been in awe of Kerri-Anne?
Yeah, of course I have, but, I'm just used to her.
And the way she's been a rock for you in the past 2 years?
Well, she had to learn how to do the accounting and all that. I mean, she'd never been to an ATM machine when I have to try to explain to her how to get money out of a wall.
The way things have turned out is very different to what Kerri-Anne had imagined when she set out on her journey to stardom. From the start, television cast its spell on the starry-eyed kid from Sandgate, a sleepy suburb of Brisbane. What was it about TV that you desperately had to do it?
I think I just sort of remember seeing this box and people inside it, and they looked as if they were having a bit of fun, and I've gone, that seems like a nice thing to do. I always quite liked singing, and in those days also miming all the, the pop songs. She didn't have the greatest voice, but whatever she did, she used to work at really hard. She was very focused and dedicated, and she used to try, she was always in there sort of rehearsing in her room. She'd close the door and turn the music up, and she'd be in there for singing into a hairbrush, and she'd be in there for hours and hours. And here's me tone deaf, not interested.
The hit children's show on daytime TV was Everybody's In with Jim Iliff.
And I thought that looked like a bit of fun. So I'd like to do that. So I asked Mum, if, you know, I'd like to do that. And she said, yes, dear.
And she said, Mum, will you call them for me? I said, no, if you want to do it, you call them. and which she did.
What's on now, ain't everybody at Kerry?
I think we've got a cartoon, haven't we?
We have that right. It's Popeye.
At the age of 13, Kerri-Anne's TV career was underway. A career that her 96-year-old mum Grace has, until now, never spoken publicly about.
Well, I'm rather shy about it. I don't know, really. It's just that it's her life and I just like to keep a low profile, that's all.
So you certainly weren't a stage mum.
No, most certainly not.
Were you ever worried about her when she was so young getting into showbiz?
Oh, yes, all the time. You do worry, you can't help it.
Well, it's the bunyip himself.
And Grace had good reason to be worried. Because after a successful start on local TV, Kerri-Anne decided it was time to pack her bags. And you went to New York City, hoping to be the next Olivia Newton-John?
I always had New York front and centre in my mind. It wasn't London and Europe. Everybody used to, you know, you'd hear about people going off backpacking and I never had any interest in Europe. I wanted to go to New York.
When she went to New York, I worried about it then because I thought, well, she's never been on her own. I thought, how will she manage over there?
Now, New York City in the 70s. That'd be quite a party, wouldn't it? And we know you like a party.
Oh, yeah, I think that's where I earned my stripes in partying. It's got a vibe and it's powerful.
Studio 54, you in the same room as Olivia Newton-John.
Were you? It was just like all my dreams had come true. And John Travolta. All these people, it was just insane.
So at these parties, a few drugs circulating?
There was a lot of stuff going on. There's cocaine was, you know, pretty rife everywhere. And a couple of times that I may have taken some of that, you realise that it's actually really fabulous.
So you did try cocaine
yep.
several times?
Yeah, a few times. But I realised it wasn't for me because it was too good.
You liked it too much, you didn't want to get hooked?
And you just go, no. I'd seen all those movies with the heroin-addled people with terrible skin and hair and depths. That was the image of a junkie. And I didn't want to be a junkie.
What Kerri-Anne wanted was to be a singer. This is her first music video. And the man directing it is New York music producer Jimmy Miller, who swept Kerri-Anne off her feet. The husband, Australia, didn't even know you had. You tell me about him?
Here's this really almost exotic, slightly mad, born and bred New Yorker. He built recording studios where I could record. You know, we had musicians. It was terribly glamorous. And he was just charming beyond belief. And I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and got reeled in.
Charming until he wasn't. He hit you.
When it happened, I still remember my mother's words ringing in my ear, you never let a man lay a hand on you, ever.
This is the first time Kerri-Anne has spoken about being a victim of domestic violence. After the attacks, she says Jimmy would apologise.
The old sorry word. And you want to believe that. And you
living the dream and it all seems terrific. But yes, he was very abusive at times. And you realise you can't go on like that. But also it's really hard to get out.
He beat you so badly, you spent the night in hospital.
You know, you just realise that when somebody is, 6'2", crazy off their head, doesn't matter which room you run into, all you do is close your eyes and wait for it to be over. Because it's pointless.
Did you fear for your life?
Yeah, I think eventually you just go, if it goes this way, I think I will be dead.
Terrifying.
So then you've just, you need to regroup and decide what you need and want to do. But again, you keep getting reeled in because of the surrounding situation and the person there who always wakes up and is sorry.
Kerri-Anne had already met English businessman John Kennerley. He'd been shown around the New York studio by a friend and was instantly smitten by the young Australian.
I just looked at her and I said, that's the next Mrs. Kennerley. And he said, no, you can't, she's married, you can't, She's a friend of mine. So we got to know each other, and for the next 2 years, she fixed me up with all her girlfriends.
John had no idea Kerri-Anne was being beaten at home. Her husband was also limiting any contact she had with John and other friends. Her life had become a secret hell.
Somebody controls every aspect of your life. Everything you do, everything you say virtually, everybody you meet, and your world gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and it's sort of really almost normal.
And then, one night, you snapped.
Well, it wasn't actually even a snap. I just remember one night going, you have to eventually just go, okay, no more. And he was being, very bullying and aggressive and nasty again. He always had a .22 rifle above the door in the bedroom. So I just remember I was actually quite calm about it. I just went and got the gun, aimed it at him, and said, I will shoot you if you come anywhere near me. Now, he thought this was actually quite funny, till he realised that I really was serious and that I did have a gun, and he knew it was loaded. And the only thing that stopped me is thinking I'd be in jail for 25 years.
So do you think you would have actually pulled that trigger?
If he'd really kept coming, I think I probably would have.
Kerri-Anne had left Australia when she was a teenager to pursue her dream of being a cabaret star in New York City. She'd married American record producer Jimmy Miller, but early in their marriage, he turned violent and was regularly beating her. Pushed to the brink, Kerri-Anne grabbed his .22 rifle and took aim. So do you think you would have actually pulled that trigger?
If he'd really kept coming, I think I probably would have.
And a few nights after that evening with the gun, when Jimmy got a bit aggressive again, you walked out 10 blocks down the street to a good friend.
Yeah.
Whose name? John Kennerley.
Indeed.
When she arrived at my doorstep with the black eye and the bit of a bloody nose, and I realised exactly what was happening. From then on, of course, she told me all this stuff and I learned about it. But I hadn't seen it in him.
He said he took you downstairs to a bar, peanuts on the floor. And you said after a few hours of talking to him, you were smiling again.
Yeah, probably didn't even take that long. Because John was such a really gorgeous human being. And having known him for almost 18 months at this stage and no romantic inkling whatsoever, that was the first time I thought, oh, yeah, he's nice.
Because he kissed you.
Yeah, and then that was sort of just a whole awakening.
Very memorable to me. And I sort of realised I was kissing the girl I was going to be spending my life with.
With the help and encouragement of John, Kerri-Anne divorced her abusive husband, flew back to Australia and eventually tied the knot again. This time, she got it right.
In sickness and in health, and forsaking everyone else, always be true to him.
It was spectacular.
It was wonderful. We were the first wedding at the Opera House. It was John's idea. It was very clever. And it was really nice.
Where do we start?
I'm not quite sure.
Kerri-Anne was back on TV in no time. She even went brunette for her first job in The Restless Years.
Neil, please just leave now. Get out, please.
But her true calling was being herself. To land a job on a new talk show called Good Morning Australia, she was given the task of trying to interview cricket great Vivian Richards.
I actually thought it was a girl. And I said to John, well, why is he named Vivian?
She found Vivian locked in his hotel room and brazenly knocked on the door.
I asked him for the interview and he's so polite. Oh, no, this beautiful lilting Jamaican voice. I'm so very tired going in. And he went to close the door. I literally put my foot in the door and said, look, I'm sorry, you don't really understand, but I have to get this interview. If I don't get this interview, if I go back to the office without this interview, I'm really not going to get the job. So I really appreciate it. It's only one for you, but, you know, I'd really like to do this interview. It's all possible. No pressure. I think he was just so gobsmacked. He said, OK, but, you know, I'm not leaving the room. And I've gone, fine, crew.
Well, thank you very much for letting us invade your privacy this morning, Viv. And good morning, Australia.
Not only wouldn't he leave the room, he wouldn't get out of bed.
Well, there's a position many women would like to find themselves in.
The world exclusive got Kerri-Anne the job she wanted. While to all of Australia she remained bubbly and upbeat, she now reveals that privately she came to despise her co-host, Gordon Elliott.
Have I done something to you?
Toward the end of the relationship, he wasn't always terribly nice or polite.
Kerri, there is one way to say
He really just thought he was the ant's pants. And he was as arrogant as they would come. But I didn't realise how much he disliked me till the very last year. It got quite mean, and he and I probably, other than on camera in the last year, did not speak a word.
Was it jealousy?
I have no idea. He was just, you know, 26, 28-year-old buffhead.
In the years that followed, co-hosts came and went, but Kerri-Anne remained. Landing the big interviews, including reclusive Beatle George Harrison.
Well, as you can see, it's raining here.
She steered Good Morning Australia to the top of the ratings. Her career was going gangbusters.
You all know John, of course. Hello, John. Merry Christmas, darling.
And her life at home with John was even better. And then 1988, and you found out you were pregnant.
Yes. And it was very exciting, but any first pregnancy, very nerve-wracking. This is such a change in life. Then it wasn't to be. I lost the baby at about 15, 16 weeks.
How tough was it?
Any woman can tell you that is the most traumatic time. For no reason, they can't find a heartbeat. And, you know, you now realise this person inside you is not with you anymore. And it's absolutely, you know, really gut-wrenching. And we were very, very sad about that.
After losing her baby, Kerri-Anne underwent surgery.
Just awful.
You went back to work the next day.
Yep.
You're a strong woman, Kerri-Anne.
Yeah. Well, I've really never ever had a day off. It's not what you do. Unless you have to. It's just not what you do. You just move along with it.
Well, it affected us both badly. But, you know, we're not the sort of people who let the bad things dwell. You know, you've got to move on.
The more you wallow in your own self-pity, I think the harder you make it for yourself. It's not going to go away. It's not going to change anything. So, you know, here's the next minute or hour of your life. Are you going to live it going, oh, you know, this is terrible, I can't cope? Or you go, okay, let's move on.
A big part of Kerri-Anne's 50 years on TV was shared with this man, Jeff Harvey, on the Midday Show.
Jeff Harvey, it's so wonderful to see you.
Oh, shit, you look good.
They're catching up today at Harvey's Bar in Bowral, south of Sydney, reminiscing about some of the best years they had together.
You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. I love Jeff Harvey. He saved me so many times, such a support, and he's just fabulous.
And Kerri-Anne was, well, you know, she was the Kerri-Anne that you see. It was full of laughter and all that stuff. Terrific, yeah.
Gosh, it looked like fun.
It was fun.
I never got to the second verse.
Is there one?
The people we got to sing that song. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. You ain't never got around and you ain't
So many memorable moments. One of them, you pushing Kerri-Anne in the pool.
Kerri-Anne said, if I sit on the side of the pool, push me in.
He didn't want to, but we were doing pool safety, and I just thought it was a good sight gag, and I made him do it. He's gone, but they'll hate me.
If you're doing anything around a pool, be very careful. And then all of a sudden I saw her sit up on the side of the pool. I thought, here we go. I went, rump. In she went. I'd be surprised. Every female in Australia said, you know, what a pig of a man. What a pig of a man. Why would you do that?
And oh, yes, apparently a few people were very upset with him. But I set the whole thing up.
He got hate mail.
Sorry.
How long did it take for him to forgive you?
I'm not sure if he ever really did.
Have you forgiven her yet?
Oh, yes. Yeah. She's too nice. I mean, she'd make you melt.
Well, hello, Kerri. It's so nice to have you back where you belong.
Kerri-Anne had lobbied hard to win the coveted daytime TV gig on the Midday Show. Her job interview was with Kerry Packer.
Okay, girlie, what are you going to do? If you only knew, I had no idea. And I'm thinking, and I've gone, well, I want it to have some energy. Like we could even have theme shows. If it's a country western day, we'll have hay bales and bands and horses. I like country music. Yes.
Stop. Midday with Kerri-Anne was an instant hit. She landed the world's biggest stars, including Robin Williams.
Oh, a pianist. God bless you, sir. I've always had pianist envy. It's a wonderful thing. It's not the size of the organ, it's how you play the key. We're back. Thank you. Sorry.
No, don't be.
At any moment you're about to go, please let me go.
He was supposed to come on for a couple of minutes and stayed a little longer?
Yep, he stayed like 56 minutes and he just didn't stop. It was like being having a blowfly in a bottle.
Too much already, isn't it, dear? But let's do the makeover anyway. Don't be afraid. I'm going to do some teasing of your hair. Nah.
Sitting this far apart from Robin Williams was like being close to genius.
Look at this thing. This is a type of thing you normally see only on a Swedish pimp.
Part of Kerri-Anne's appeal is that she never worried about looking silly. And was smart enough to get others like then Treasurer Peter Costello to do things they'd later regret.
It was fun. It was fun. Him not thinking it's so much fun to start with, though, and a lot of executives upstairs did not think it was fun at all. One particular executive took off his shoe and threw it at the monitor. And yes, I was in a lot of trouble.
Ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, Australia. I'm Kerri-Anne Kennerley. So good to be seeing me, isn't it?
Kerri-Anne was so famous, she was parodied on the classic skit show Fast Forward.
And speaking of records, here's my new album, Kerri-Anne Kennerley, A Man's Best Friend.
John loved it. Kerri-Anne couldn't stand it.
One is the loneliest number.
No, I thought it was very funny.
Track 2, side 1. I love you. I honestly love you.
I've got to. That's nothing like me. And you said?
It's just like you.
Oh, you want Studio 54 stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. This
Kerri-Anne is a self-confessed fashion hoarder.
They're legit flares with leather on the bottom.
And so are these. They were in New York, circa 70s.
She's kept scores of outrageous outfits.
Oh, there. That was a pretty dress I did once.
Hoping one day they'll make a comeback.
You might take those back upstairs. See? Never throwing.
Among the memories, her favourite red carpet looks.
Oh, this one. Yeah. So it's a little bit of Logies of years gone by.
Oh, can I pull this one up? Because this is one of my favourites. Because I've been Googling all your Logies dresses. And what I love is how you would wear them on the show the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was wondering, is that just because you didn't go home and it was easy to rock up in the dress?
It's post-Logie's morning.
Kerri-Anne was a regular at the Logies, nominated for the Gold 3 years in a row, but she was beaten by Blue Heelers star Lisa McCune.
4 times, thank you very much, Lisa, that you've won, because I was up against you for 3 times. That's right, I'm the loser.
Bloody Lisa McCune.
If they just shot her in Blue Heelers 1 year before.
This year, Kerri-Anne returned to the Logies to a standing ovation as she was inducted into television's Hall of Fame. She dedicated the moment to the love of her life.
I can honestly say I would give away 50 years of this career and all those incredible experiences and anything else I could think of just to have you standing right here by my side, holding my hand.
She always seemed to put me first, and she makes me feel as though she loves me all the time.
So she's the star, but you're the centre of her universe.
That's what I feel. She makes me feel like the king.
Kerri-Anne has cared for John since an accident in March 2016 left him a quadriplegic. He fell off a veranda at a golf tournament near Coffs Harbour and broke his neck.
You have opened up very bravely and told Australians about what happened in the accident and the really hard road to recovery. But something that we didn't know was that along with the grief that you're carrying is this almost sense of guilt by the sounds of it because of what you call a sliding doors moment.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's just like, because I was the one to make him change his flight because he was due to come back while I continued with the golf tournament. And I said, oh, stay, you know, I don't get a chance to do this very often. And he changed his mind. Now, if I hadn't done that, life would have just been as beautiful as it was before. But, you know, it's left, right, up, down. It's, you know, you just wish you had a time machine.
Cheers. Happy birthday.
Cheers, everyone.
No, I have got a little present for you. Just a little
this one.
something.
Okay.
But time doesn't ever stand still.
I think I know what they are.
I think your old golfing sunglasses were getting a bit tired.
John is making slow and encouraging progress. He's getting some movement back in his right arm and strength is returning to his legs.
These are the ones that I see that I'm actually playing like Kari Webb.
Yeah, the balls go straight on these ones.
Yeah, apparently. And the putts all go in.
What do you miss most?
Oh, I think being able to hug and hold Kerri-Anne. I can't even hold a hand. And it's very hard in my little hospital bed where I'm absolutely lying stiff as a board. You know, she creeps into bed with me, but it's just too small.
Well, yours is a hell of a story, and I would assume that the past chapter is probably not the way you would have written it. But are you determined to have a happy ending to this story?
Oh, yeah. Well, John and I are the happy ending. We're alive. It's just, you know, a more focused and busy life between me still trying to do some work and still care for John, but luckily I've got great help. But yeah, we are the happy ending.
Thank you.
Pleasure.